Greetings, guys and ghouls, and welcome back to the podcast where we talk about all things spooky, Dial H for horror.
I am your ghostess with the mostest, Shay.
And I am your favorite final girl, Gina.
Hey, welcome back.
Woohoo! Applause, applause.
Applause and circle, yeah. All right. So, Gina, what movie do you have for us this week?
This week, I have chosen Orphan First Kill for us to review.
Ah, yes, that's why I'm wearing this beautiful necklace here.
Exactly. You look like you're from Haunted Mansion.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I was going for.
I love it.
All right, so.
Yeah. But yeah, I chose Orphan because we both listened to it. Y'all are listening to us.
Of course.
But we both watched the first installment when it came out in 2009, and we were kind of crazy over it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was on the repeats for a while back in the day.
Yeah,
And
it's one of my favorite horror movies, and I don't care what anybody says, it still has one of the best plot twists of any movie I've ever seen, because there's just no way you could see it coming. Also, if you haven't seen the original Orphan, you probably don't want to listen to any of this episode, because this movie spoils the entire surprise of Orphan
of the
in
first
general.
movie.
Yeah, so.
Yeah. Definitely beneficial to go ahead and watch the first one. Come back, hang out with us for a bit, grab some water, hydrate.
Oh,
We'll be waiting for you.
Absolutely. And it's worth the watch. It's a good movie.
Absolutely. It's actually on Tubi TV right now. You can watch the first movie for free.
Yeah.
So definitely check it out. Everybody should be able to reach that one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, shall we get started with our review of Orphan First Kill?
All right. I think we should get started. Let's do it.
Okay, well, Orphan First Kill is a 2022 psychological horror film directed by William Brent Bell. Bell is best known for his work directing The Double Inside and The Boy series. He has a new horror movie set to release later this year, actually, that's called Lord of Misrule. And just a quick note for my Lush fans out there who love the scent Lord of Misrule that comes out the same time of year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about that, but okay, cool.
You don't? Oh,
No.
best scent ever from Lush.
I'll have to look into that.
Absolutely, yeah. But the prequel stars Isabel Fuhrman, who is reprising her role as Esther from when she was 10 years old in the first film. It also stars Julia Stiles, Rossif Sutherland, Hiro Kanagawa, and Matthew Finlan. The film was released on Paramount Plus on April 19th, 2022, and of course it's still there because it was a Paramount Plus original, I think.
Yes,
so
it
you
was.
can catch it there.
It was exclusive, yes.
Yeah, okay. I want to double check. When I was doing my research, I was getting some conflicting things. I think it did come out in select theaters.
Yeah, I believe it did.
Alrighty. So the movie opens with Anna, an art therapist, walking into her first day of her new job at a psychiatric institution in Estonia. Not even 10 minutes into her orientation, and there is already a patient loose. The staff informs her that everything is totally fine, and she just needs to wait in this dark room that is only illuminated by a flashing red light of doom. While Anna stands there and questions why she didn't just major in art in college, she's greeted by our girl, Lena, who we know better as Esther. Now, before I move on, I want to let everybody know that I will be referring to Lena as Esther for the sake of consistency throughout this episode. We get a quick recap that explains the twist to the first movie, and we learn a bit about Esther's life before she made her way to the US. She runs this institution, and everybody knows it. She's a boss.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We then move into our next scene where Esther puts her plan into place to escape the institution. And I thought it would be kind of cool if we just both walk through that together and maybe talk about how we felt about that scene too, since it was a little weird at first.
Yeah. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the story of Orphan, she is a 30-year-old woman with a degenerative disease where essentially she will always look like a child. And that's like the big twist of the first movie, is that the entire time you're watching the movie, she looks like a child. She's being treated like a child. And then at the end of the movie, she starts acting kind of sus and hitting on the dad. And then they receive a call saying, "Hey, by the way, that's not a child. That is a fully grown woman. She's like 30 something years old." Like, so in this movie, of course, it kicks off. You already know she's a 31. At this point, she's 31 because it's a prequel. But she leans into her role of looking like a child very well, especially when she orders a dress online and has one of the guards deliver it to her.
The guard is an absolute creep.
Yeah.
And he is like watching her through her doorway when she's like spinning around holding the dress up to her. Um, and I just couldn't help but feel like, you know what, maybe you should be in one of these cells too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know sometimes in other countries they are a little bit more lenient with stuff like that. They get off a little bit easier on that. Uh, but
Mm,
he was a little bit too thrilled to be talking to this 31-year-old woman who looks like she's 9. He was a little
exactly.
bit too thrilled. And I understand that some people will look at it as, well, she is a grown woman, so there's nothing necessarily wrong with it. But it's almost like it's a difference between like she's a grown woman and you're looking at her as though she's a grown woman and understanding like, okay, yeah, she's just, she's her body never really hit puberty. She didn't really grow. Um versus he's definitely looking at her with interest because she's looks like a child. Like it's
Exactly.
obvious.
The part that makes it disturbing is why he's looking at her,
Hmm.
why he's attracted to her, which
Yeah,
is
very
no
unsettling.
bueno.
But he gets his.
Yeah,
He gets his.
absolutely, yeah. She calls him into the room and enacts her plan and bashes Homeboy's head against the wall. And it's pretty satisfying seeing as the fact that he is creepy.
Creepy. Yeah, I mean, if he's willing to do that to a 31-year-old woman who looks like she's 9, what's saying he's not doing that to actual children?
Absolutely. And that was Orphan's first kill. So, anyways, the review's over now.
Yeah.
Have a great day.
All right, yeah, it's the end of the movie, guys. It was just that one scene, she killed the guy, and that was the end of it, so
It was her first kill. Yeah.
No, I actually really like the part I love in her escape is, the part with Ichi, the
Yeah.
candy lady. She really likes candy, and I remember when I first watched this movie, because I've seen this movie quite a bit. I remember when I first watched this movie and like you see her jump on the guard and start bashing his head in with the nightstick. I was like,
Yeah.
dang, she really likes candy. Like,
When I was watching the scene where she's bashing the guard's head in with the nightstick, I couldn't help but think, man, I would really love to see like a movie just starring these two, just like taking the world.
exactly. All she has to do is go, Ichi, you want some candy? And then she just like "Ah!" and just jumps on jumps on somebody and beats them to death.
Like what a dynamic duo. They were definitely besties. I love them.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yep. And yeah, you're right. She like absolutely did own the institute. She
Absolutely.
ran it. Esther ran it.
Um, so Esther makes her way out of the institution. Gives Ichi her candy though
Mhm.
because she deserves it. And our girl Anna, she's getting in her car. She's like, "Listen, y'all don't even give me dental. I'm leaving. Um, this job is not worth it." She heads into the car to go, and Esther's waiting for her. So she promptly runs back inside to let the guards know. And they're like, well, good thing we know she's out there. The police will get her.
They
Like,
they they did not.
yeah.
As soon as Anna arrived home, Esther was like, I don't need you anymore. You got me where I needed to go, so, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah. She stowed away in her car and killed her,
Yeah,
basically.
killed her, yeah. And then she proceeds to like go upstairs and play the piano and
She's shredding on the piano.
drink some wine, make some food, and then she starts looking at missing children in the United States to see if there's any that match with her. And now we see how she adopted the persona of Esther, or at least the namesake of Esther, because she finds a girl that looks pretty similar to her and her name is Esther. She's missing, and she decides, hey, I'll just be her. I look enough like her. I'll just be her.
Exactly. So the plan goes into action. She heads downstairs. Anna is still gasping for her life. And Esther just is kind of like, oh, my bad. Usually one hit does it. So, she bashes her a couple more times, heads out the
Yeah.
door. And a police officer finds Esther on the swing set. He asks her, is she okay? And she says, my parents are in America and my name is Esther.
Yep.
So let's move on over to Darien, Connecticut to meet Esther's new family, the Albrights. We meet them during their son Gunner's fencing match. We don't see him for long, though, since he blows off his family night to go hang out with his friends. The parents, Alan and Trisha, are approached by Detective Donan, who has been in charge of their daughter's missing person case for the last 4 years. They learn she is alive, and Trisha makes her way to Moscow to reunite with her after all this time. On the flight back to the US, Trisha is showing Esther photos of how the family looks now, and when they reach a photo of Mop Mop, Grandma, Esther mentions that she cannot wait to see her. Only problem is, Mop Mop's been dead since before Esther went missing. Trisha reminds her that her grandmother has long passed, and Esther makes a beeline to the bathroom to take a shot and scold herself for being so stupid. This is like my favorite scene in the movie, actually. What I appreciate about the scene is that we get to see how she acts when no one's around. It's something that we didn't get to see in the first movie because for the majority of it, we are also under the ruse that she is indeed a 10-year-old girl. But now we get to see her turn the character on and off at will. And it's a really cool thing to see. And like, kudos to this actress. She's incredible. I mean, she was the original Esther. For her to come back at age 23 and
I
play this
know.
character again, I mean, she did such a great job. Just the moments where she would just drop her tone and she would like curse at herself or something. Like, I love her.
Yeah, no, she did a great job, and I love the scene where she like goes into the bathroom and takes a shot. I mean, like you saw glimpses of the character dropping in the first movie. Like there's one scene in the first movie after they take her to a psychiatrist, which happens after this. The original parent, the parent she is with in that movie, they take her to a
Yeah.
psychiatrist, and then they tell her to leave so that the psychiatrist can talk to the mom and dad, and you see her in the bathroom and she's muttering to herself, and then she starts kicking and punching the walls and screaming, and it's like you see her drop that character, but because you don't know what's going on, you're like, this girl's just crazy, she's just
Yeah.
psycho, like this is a crazy child, like send her back to the orphanage. But like seeing it now within the context of understanding she's a grown woman who's having to play this part of like a child, like you kind of are like, it's cool to see. It's like, okay, yeah, you see the facade dropping, and it does make it less scary, but it still isn't like a bad thing because, like, yeah, obviously the movie's been out for over a decade now, the first one. So obviously those things were not. If you've seen it, if you know, you know. But yeah, I like that shot. So seeing she like what you would call it, has sleight of, like she's a master of sleight of hand because she just distracts that woman and then just like slips the freaking vodka off of the shelf. And then like goes into the bathroom, takes a shot, and then just starts like, oh, I'm so stupid.
And then she throws a very similar tantrum to
She
what
throws
she
a-
did in the first movie.
But the best part of that whole scene is her opening the bathroom doors and just smiling.
Yeah,
Just like,
she's like,
and the freaking flight attendant's like, all right.
somebody else in this movie is like, I don't get paid enough for this.
Exactly. Like, none of my business. Whatever you were doing in the bathroom, none of my business.
Yeah, so she gets home, gets acquainted, looks around the house and everything. They bring her up to her room, which her room feels very not 2007. I think that's when this is supposed to take place.
I think so.
Yeah. This felt like we were going to like in a Victorian child's bedroom.
Yeah. I mean, I think the implication is because they're like ridiculously rich, and also she like the real Esther disappeared when she was so young. They probably gave
Mhm.
her a lot of like antique stuff and like, I mean, they're like insanely rich. Like that house is ridiculous. Like
Oh, no, the
it's
house is
ridiculous.
gorgeous. That's something off of Selling Sunset. I don't
Mhm.
know.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it'd be like selling wherever selling
Connecticut.
Connecticut.
It's on Connecticut. Yeah.
um, but yeah, I guess the reason why I bring it up is because they mention how she dresses later on in the movie.
Mhm.
And how I think what is it? They say she dresses like Lizzie Borden.
Oh yeah, the
And I'm
brother
like,
says that.
yeah, the brother says
Gunnar
it. And
says
I'm
that.
like, okay, but look at her room. Like,
Yeah.
this clearly is this girl's aesthetic.
Yeah, exactly. And it's very interesting too because like later on, we'll get to it, but Julia Stiles' character continues to dress her like that. And it's like you
Yeah.
could just stop at any point in time. You do
Like, you
realize
don't
that.
have
Like
to.
you don't have to have her in this freaking like Victorian child aesthetic. Like you can stop buying her dresses like that. You
Like,
could put
y'all are really committed.
I mean, like at least like Vera Farmiga's character in the first movie, like was like trying to. She was like, "Here's some jeans. You don't want to wear the jeans I bought you,"
Yeah.
and she was like, "No, I like this better. What's wrong with what I'm wearing?" And it's like, okay, that's like a point of contention, but like, I was like, you just bought her like a whole wardrobe of like American Girl doll dresses, essentially.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, did they go to the American Girl store?
So they look like American Girl doll dresses. I'm like, really? You gonna keep dressing her like that?
Like, they raided Samantha's closet.
Of course,
And
that's
they
what she
gave it
looks
to
like,
Esther. Yeah.
bruh. Of course, this isn't an orphan movie without her being absolutely creepy to the dad.
Oh, absolutely.
Um,
Yes.
at least this dad in this movie, like no disrespect to Peter Sarsgaard, but at least this dad is like more attractive. And
Yeah.
also, he's got a really cool painting style. And I also thought it was awesome that that's how you learn how she does the blacklight paintings.
Yes.
Because that was always my favorite thing from that movie. Actually, I
Mhm.
did that to one of my posters one year. I had a Joker poster, and when the lights
Oh.
were off, you could just see the regular Joker poster. But then when the black lights were on, it was like I colored the eyes and stuff and the face with like the big Joker smile, and it said, and I wrote "Why so serious" on it.
I think I remember
Yeah,
this. You're, like,
probably.
unlocking a core memory right now.
Yeah. That's where I got the inspiration from, was from Orphan, because I thought that was the
Yeah.
coolest thing. And I love that they showed you that how he did that, and that you learned that that's where she learned that specific talent, because that was like a
Mhm.
pretty big part of the first Orphan movie, was like her doing the black light paintings where like it looked one way, but then when you turn the black light on it looked another.
It looked totally different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I loved that. I loved my favorite one was the school that was on fire. That
Yes.
was the one, like, it was just looked like a regular school, and then when you turn on the lights, you could just see the flames coming out, like, from the windows, and, like, the smoke and all that stuff. I was like, "That's just so creepy."
I
And
wonder if there's a print you could get of that,
that would
because
be
that would be
pretty
so
cool.
cool,
Yeah,
right?
that'd be pretty cool. That'd be pretty cool. But, yeah, so Alan does teach her his ways of how he does that, and, then she decides she wants to draw him. He
Mhm,
tells her
like
to
one of
draw.
her French girls.
Yeah, it's a little sus. She tells him to think about how he felt when Esther went missing, and when he says, "I don't ever want to like be there again. Like I don't want to ever feel like that again." She's like, "There, just like that," and
Mhm.
then proceeds to draw him looking crestfallen.
Yes, and I mean, it's impressive. I mean, like, cue the one scene from Detroit Become Human where the the artist guy's like, "Oh my god."
Marcus, she's Marcus.
She's Marcus that whole thing up, and she killed it.
She Marcus it.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's impressive, and um, he's, like, taken aback by her talent. And I believe then he leaves the studio, and she's sitting there. Oh no, he leaves to go get some paint. Now he wants to see what she
Mhm.
can do with the paint. And she's sitting there looking at her drawing of him, and she rubs the lips on the drawing and then rubs her finger against her own lips
Mhm.
and turns around, and Trisha is watching her through the window while this is going on, and Trisha don't look happy.
No, she's confused, she's concerned, she's like, "Why is my child
She's like, "That's my
It's a
man.
little
What you doing?"
gross. Um, yeah, so then the Detective Donnan, he comes to dinner because he is suspicious about Esther's sudden return and also her change in behavior.
Yes, and he actually spoke with a psychiatrist too,
Mhm.
who, I mean, I don't think the psychiatrist gave anything away because that would break their oath, but
Mhm.
she suggests that they all go in for like a group, like family therapy to talk
Mhm.
together with her. Um, and Detective Donan, I want to call him Donovan every time, and I have to stop myself. He's kind of telling them that he thinks it's a great idea for them all to go in. Esther excuses herself to go get a glass of water, and she's listening in, and she's like, "Oh no, 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 we are not going back to that psychiatrist. Okay, we're not doing that mess again." She almost outed me because
Mhm.
I didn't know who the bird was.
Exactly. It's crazy. Yeah, so he ends up being kind of a thorn in the side. So another another weird, of course, Esther moment that we all remember from the first Orphan movie was how she always somehow showed up whenever the parents were about to get freaky. And
Yes.
this movie is no exception. So Alan and Trisha are getting ready to go to like a gala for Trisha, and she starts to be like, "Oh my gosh, you look so good in the suit, and I'm so happy you're supporting me." And then they start making out. It starts to get a little bit hot and heavy, and of course Esther's in the doorway watching.
And she's mad.
And she's acting like he's her man and he's cheating on her. Like he's trifling. She's like he's trifling. He's trifling. How he gonna sit here and do this in right in front of me? How you gonna do this?
Like,
How you gonna do me like this, Alan?
I don't know how to tell her, but if to get with a man, maybe don't introduce yourself as his missing child.
She didn't learn how to like. She needs. I think Esther's life would have gone in a different trajectory, like not because of her, like her disability, but it would have gone in a different trajectory if she like I don't know learned how to talk to guys. You don't pretend
She
to be a child to
she
talk to
daughter
guys.
zones herself. She
She
daughter zones
does.
herself.
She does. She puts herself in the daughter zone and then she gets mad because they're sleeping with their wives. Like,
Yeah. Oh no,
hello?
he's faithful? Come on,
Exactly.
Esther.
So she rips Trisha's dress that she was going to put on, which was, of course, which I'm sorry, I have to say this. She talks about how much money she spent on this dress. Number
Mm,
one, wouldn't rip that easily if you spent a ton of money on that dress. And number two,
get
why
her.
did it look like you got that from TJ Maxx? Like, I'm not trying to knock anybody that shops at TJ Maxx, but for someone to sit there and go, I spent so much money on this dress, why does it look like you got it off the rack at TJ Maxx?
Listen, I think the real tragedy here is that Esther ripped her red dress.
Red dress. Oh my gosh. Um, yeah, so yeah, Esther rips the dress and you know, it's makes Trisha very upset and she has to put on this frumpy uh turtleneck. I mean, I guess Trisha doesn't own any other dresses.
I honestly, I thought what Trisha was wearing looked even better. It wasn't.
I
You
mean,
said it was a turtleneck. I thought it was
I thought
one
it
of
was
these. It was a gown that had the like little um was it sash that goes around the neck and
yeah,
then the
maybe it was
tails hang
that.
backward.
Yeah.
Because I thought it looked really nice. She had like a nice black dress on, and I'm like, why didn't you choose that in the first place?
I mean, it just to me it was like it's a nice dress, but it also felt like one of those things where she was choosing it because it was like the frumpier of the one she was gonna wear.
Oh, absolutely.
And
She
it's
was
like
not happy.
bro, you don't have any other dresses, like you don't have anything else that's like va 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 voom, like, that you
Mm-mm.
just have that one black dress and then the red dress that you bought that Esther just ripped.
That was her
That's it.
Jessica Rabbit dress.
Well, she needs to buy more than one. So if
When
she's
you have
got
that
all
kind of
this
money, you should.
yeah, if she's got all this money, she can go to TJ Maxx and load up.
There you go.
um
So the parents dip. They head over to the gala,
mhm.
and Gunner's like, "Okay, they're gone. Let's party." So he invites his friends over, tells Esther to get lost, and heads to the backyard where they are drinking and smoking. And it's honestly like the most boring party I ever saw in my life. Like everyone's just standing around. There's a bonfire.
There's nothing really happening. They're just standing with cups in their hands.
Yeah.
It's like,
You know, Gunner's making a joke like, "Oh, was I holding the blunt too long?" And it's like, okay. But,
honestly though, Gunner is like the most annoying character.
oh, absolutely.
He's not likable even from the beginning of the movie. He's just not
No.
likable. He's nothing likable about him. Um yeah, and then Esther of course is mouthy and tells him where he can go.
Mhm.
She tells him
And I
exactly where
agree.
he can go, and I agree too because I don't like Gunner. So
Mhm.
like I was like, good for you. I was like, good for you, girl boss. Also, this is also around the time we find out where she heard the song, the Glory of Love. Because for
Yes.
those of you who have seen the first movie or remember when the first movie was coming out, that was like the biggest part of like the trailer was like her singing the song with the little girl voice singing the song all the time and humming it to herself, and it was very creepy and like, what's wrong with Esther? So it was
Yes.
cool to actually find out like this is where she found the song because she listened to the record like all the time in the room.
Mhm.
Which also, again, this is 2007. Did we really have like vinyl still? Like that's
The vinyls, they weren't back yet
they
at
weren't
that
quite back
time.
yet. Not unless they just had their vinyls from like when like they were younger, like Alan and Trisha. But yeah, because I was like, they weren't back yet. They weren't like popular like they are now in like the last like
Yeah.
10, 15 years. So
I mean, Esther's the original hipster, if you ask me.
she is. She out here listening to Glory of Love and
Mhm.
but yeah, and then the detective he decides to show up to the party, which of course he tells them he can smell what they're smoking down the block, and Gunner's like, oh no, we're not, we're not. And it's like, he has a nose, dude. He can smell. Like that stuff
Mhm.
is pungent. You can smell it from a mile away. Like nobody's stupid here. But of course, he's not there to bust Gunner. He's there to find out what's going on with Esther. So he asks to use the restroom, and then Gunner says, "Yeah, sure, go ahead." Which it kind of pissed me off that Gunner didn't walk him to the restroom. Like I know he's a
Yeah,
cop, and I know that he worked closely with them, but like even if my friend comes in the house, like I'm not saying I'm gonna walk him to the bathroom. Like obviously my house is not as big as theirs, but like if I lived in a bigger house, like I'm gonna look and see where they're going. He just like
absolutely.
was like, "Oh yeah, go ahead," and like walked off, went back outside. Well,
He went back in the backyard,
yeah,
and the detective's like, "Okay, well, I guess I'm free to go. I'm free to roam the house."
exactly, and
Doesn't even
especially
check to see if he leaves, I think.
no, he doesn't, and especially like when we find out what the plot twist is in this movie, the big plot twist. Like the detective could have found something out that they didn't want them to find out.
Absolutely.
So I'm just saying, like, you just let this dude walk into your house and just go exploring in the house, and then you just went in the backyard, like, whatever. I'm gonna go hang out with my friends.
Gunner's not at all the brightest bulb in the bunch in the
No,
box.
he's just
I
rich.
mean, he's
He's just
rich,
rich. That's it.
exactly.
That's all he's got going for him. But yeah, but the detective does end up taking Esther's record. So F in the chat for the record.
Mhm.
It's very sad because that song's a bop. Um, and yeah, he ends up taking it and taking it back to his house to run evidence to see if it really is Esther.
Yes. At this time, Trisha and Alan are on their way home from the gala, talking about their night. Alan jokes that he hopes the house is still standing when they get home and says that he remembers when he was 16, he almost burned the house down. Trisha laughs and says Gunner would never do that, and Alan responds saying, "Who said I was talking about Gunner?" You're going to wish you didn't make that joke, Alan. When they get inside, Trisha immediately goes to Esther's room and hears the shower running. She feels there's no better time than the present than to go to her daughter's diary and find out that she's a 31-year-old woman posing as her missing child and is lusting over her husband. Oh, and she's also not in the shower right now.
Nope.
And at this time, I'd like to give a warning. There are major spoilers for this movie ahead. If you would like to watch the movie first and come back, we encourage that you do so. We're now going to take a 10-second pause before we begin the spoiler portion of this review. Okay, here we go. Meanwhile, Detective Donan is at the home testing Lena's. I know I said earlier I wouldn't call her Lena, but in this case I need to. So she's testing Lena's fingerprints against the original Esther to find that it's not a match. He's immediately attacked by Esther, being stabbed several times. Suddenly he is shot, but Esther did not come with a gun to his house. The camera pans over to reveal that Trisha shot him, and she makes sure she is dead. Like, homegirl, like, shoots him a few times.
In the head, too.
In the head, yeah. Trisha sits Esther down to explain that the real Esther died when Gunnar was roughhousing with her. She didn't want to lose both of her children to the tragic accident, so she hid her daughter's body and pretended that she went missing. So that's the big twist of the story. And what I really appreciated was the twist came and we still had like another, it was, I think, 50 minutes left of this movie.
Yeah, it's early in the movie.
It's quite early in the movie, and I really appreciated that because I'm like, oh, now we can like really see, they had all this time to play with this idea now, and we're seeing things from a whole new perspective, and I really enjoyed that they did this so early on in the film. What did you think of the twist?
Honestly, this got me just as much as the original movie did.
Same.
I was expecting a twist, but I just didn't know what to expect. So I was just kind of like, and I wasn't even really, the very first time I watched this movie, which was when it came out, I wasn't even really paying attention at this point. I was just kind of like playing on my phone. Like I liked the movie, but I was just kind of like playing on my phone. Like I had just moved into this place. So I was trying to get like settled in and like, I was like stressed and stuff like that, trying to get unpacked. So I was just like chilling, playing on my phone. And then when I looked up and I saw her her say to the cop like something like you guys like something along the lines of like you're gonna tell like how are you gonna tell like my mother that I'm not really her daughter, and he's like she already knows, and then the gun went off. I was like huh, and then the camera pans over and shows Trisha. I was like hold up. I was like wait, I put my phone down. I said I gotta pay attention because what is happening here? Like, and I was like I didn't see that coming at all. Like I knew something was up with Trisha because she was acting weird about the whole thing, but I didn't think that it was because Esther was dead, the real Esther was dead. I just thought she knew, like already, like she had already knew, like this is not my daughter. There's no way. Like, and I was like, well, I guess we're gonna find out how. And then it was like, oh, Esther's dead. My son killed her, and I'm cleaning up the messes. Like when she's like, oh, this is all I do. Mommy just cleans up all her kids' messes.
Yeah.
Also, like I understand, like me and my roommate were talking about this when we watched it. Like I understand like your son might have done it by accident, which I still don't entirely believe it was an accident by the son's temperament.
At all.
By his temperament, I don't believe it was an accident. But what we said was I get loving your kids and not wanting to lose your child, but if one of your child accidentally ends your other child's life, or even like purposefully does it, why would you protect them? What's wrong with you?
Thank you.
Like,
and then sign them up for fencing.
Give them a weapon. Yeah, give them a weapon. That's smart. Like I don't have kids, so obviously I'm not in the position where I can speak on that. Like say like, oh yeah, if one of my kids hurt intentionally or unintentionally hurt one of my other kids to the point where they lost their lives, I would cover it up for them. I would make sure that I can't say that, but like I don't feel like that's how most parents would respond, especially if they found out that it was like intentional. Like, they would be like, you're going to jail. Because, I mean, I don't know. Like, again, I don't know. But I to me, it's like Gunnar had the makings of a serial killer.
Oh, absolutely.
The makings of a serial killer. He just did. I was like, oh, okay. So your son killed your daughter. You covered for him, gave him everything he wanted. She's very much she's very much, you could tell the favoritism. Like, she definitely
Oh,
loves her
absolutely.
son more than anything in the world and will do whatever she can to protect him, which is like what a lot of women do with their sons. They will do anything in
Mhm.
the world to protect their sons, and like, who cares about their daughters?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
who cares about their
absolutely.
daughters? Oh, my daughter. Oh, my son killed my daughter. Okay, well, time to cover it up so my baby boy doesn't go to jail.
Yeah, let me just dump her body over here and then,
Mm,
Gunner, would you like to
exactly.
sign up for fencing?
Gunnar had all the opportunities, and poor Esther is
Also,
probably
you
in a
named the
storm
kid
drain.
Gunner. You named the
Yeah,
kid Gunner.
yeah, yeah. I
Just saying.
I just don't understand. And I honestly, I feel so like, it made me so angry when I first watched the movie too, because I'm like, your husband like was broken about this whole
Yes.
thing about
I
losing
was
his
about to get
daughter,
into this.
you know,
Mhm.
and then you're walking around carrying this secret and then doing everything in your power to protect that secret, to protect your son and not your husband, the man you created these children with.
Yes.
You know, like the man, at the very least, what you could have told him was that, even if you didn't want to tell him Gunner did it, you could have told him that she fell and,
Mhm.
you know, it was a tragic accident. She passed. Give him some peace. I mean, it's not going to take the pain away, but give him some peace. Like, this man was expecting his daughter to come back at some point,
Yeah.
you know, and you didn't tell him anything. You just sat there like, oh no, it's okay, honey. We have to move on with our lives.
Mhm.
At least we have Gunner, the
Yeah.
perfect
I mean,
son.
it makes me think about the beginning of the movie too, and that moment when she's like, "Don't do that. You're getting in your head again." Don't get into your head. She's gone and we need to accept it. I'm like, ooh, now knowing what I know,
Hmm.
girl.
Yeah. Yeah, it changes your perspective on her character,
Absolutely.
from like kind of being like, you're not as sad about this as you should be, to you're kind of a monster. You're
An
kind of,
absolute
you're
monster.
definitely the villain of this story. Like, we know that Esther has done a lot of bad things in this movie, but Trisha and Gunnar are the villains. Make no
Yes.
mistakes.
It, it's interesting because from this point on, you're like, I have no problem rooting for Esther for the rest of this movie.
Absolutely. And I think that, it's a weird thing for a horror movie to do, to make you like, a lot of horror movies make you root for the villains. You know, we talk about
Absolutely.
like slasher movies, like, you watch a Friday the 13th movie, everybody in Friday the 13th, Halloween,
Yeah,
Nightmare on Elm Street, they're just body bags. They're just,
absolutely.
like I said last week about Leatherface, they're just sacks of meat for them to cut through. So you don't really get attached to the characters. But for a
Hmm.
movie like this, where I feel like in the first Orphan, Esther was scary. She
Yes.
was, you didn't want her to win in the end.
No.
With the exception of like the brother in that movie, pretty much everybody else in that movie was a good person and didn't deserve whatever
Hmm.
what she was trying to do, which was, let me kill everybody and take the daddy. You know, I want to take the
Yeah,
daddy with me. I want to
yeah.
kill
I mean,
everybody and
we
take
were
him.
both rooting for mom at the end of the movie.
Yeah,
We were screaming.
and when she threw out that line, "I'm not your effing mother," I was like, "Yes!"
Yes,
I was
like
like,
get
"Yes!"
her.
But this movie, it was like, as soon as they revealed what Gunnar and Trisho had done, I was like, you know what? And I'm not rooting for Esther because they're just sacks of meat for her to cut through. No, I'm rooting for her because they're actually evil. It's like, Esther might be evil, but at least she knows she's evil. And like, yeah, she might be pretending to be good, but she's not really pretending to be good. There's always
Hmm.
that, there's always enough that the people that she's around know something's wrong. If you watch the first Orphan, the nun says it. Every time something bad happens, Esther's there. Every time. So
Yep.
everybody is aware something's wrong with Esther. But these people are living in a lavish mansion. They've got all of these opportunities. They're rich, they're traveling, they're the picture of privilege. And the mom is covering up the fact that her son killed her daughter.
Oh yeah.
And almost, she's like almost proud of it. She's almost proud of it. Like, no, I saved my baby boy from jail. So this is how it's gonna be. And it's like, yeah, you know what? Get him out of there, Esther. Get him out of there.
Esther, you do what you got to do.
Exactly.
Um, yeah. At this point, Esther and Trisha pretty much make a deal. We go through a quick montage of them kind of going over their ground rules with one another. So Trisha is very adamant. Esther, you like pink? You will wear a pink dress. You will wear a pink choker.
She raids Samantha from American Girl's closet for
Yes,
Esther's clothes.
this is the time where she goes to the American Girl store and just buys out the entire Samantha section. Um, and we all just have to accept it.
Poor
We see a
Esther.
quick moment of Esther shredding on the piano again, this time in front of Alan and Trisha's friends. Everyone's like, dang, this kid is good at the piano. And yeah, I thought Esther maybe would have gotten a scholarship out of that because, somebody there was probably important enough to throw some money her
To
way.
get her into university.
Oh, yeah. But we then get to another night where Esther and Alan are painting after Esther leaves dinner early, because she wants to get away from Trisha. Trisha's now the new villain of this
Mhm.
movie.
Yeah, she's being very villainous, definitely kind of mistreating Esther and making a point to be nasty about it and like
Yeah,
make it almost known that like, it's almost like she takes on the evil stepmother role. Even though she's not a
yeah,
stepmother, but it's almost like she takes on like that Disney evil stepmother, like, I'm gonna make little subtle barbs at you and like,
hmm,
kind of have that look on my face when I look at you, like, I'm disappointed in your existence. There's
yes,
also that part with Gunnar approaching her in her bedroom to threaten her, which
yes.
I like when we were rewatching it, me and my roommate, I was like, you know what? If I was Esther at this point, I would be like, I am a 31-year-old woman. Who are you talking to, boy?
I
You
love when
are
she slapped him the second
16.
time.
That was beautiful. I was like, you are 16 and you're bowing up. Like, I understand. She looks like a kid. She has the stature of a child, and you're like bowing up to this woman like you're a freak and like we're not gonna last here. And I did it once. I killed Esther once. And I'm like, man, I would have been like, look at you, you squiggly diggly. Like, shut up. Like,
Boy, bye.
you're gonna come up to me. Like,
Squiggly diggly. Did
hold
you just
up.
say that, by
Yes,
the way?
squiggly diggly.
Did you
Yes.
just Ned Flanders that whole
I
thing?
did. I did. I just Ned Flanders that. But it's like if you don't sit your butt down, if you don't sit your butt down, Gunner, like you're gonna talk to an adult like that. An adult, and it's
Hmm,
like it don't and an adult with a disability. Like now
hmm.
we're talking about ableism here, guys. Gunner's canceled. Cancel Gunner 2K23.
Trisha's canceled too. The amount of times that she throws out those insults
She throws
in
out a
this movie.
lot of ableist insults in this movie. I was like, cancel these 2K13 2K23. Sorry, not 13. It's not 2013 anymore. What?
No, it's not. It's 10 years later.
Oh my
Welcome.
god, existential crisis. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, like that part, just like I was just like the fact that like it didn't hit me until I was watching it this past week. I was just like, this is a child, a 16-year-old child,
Hmm.
going into the room of a 31-year-old woman who he now knows is a 31-year-old woman. He's aware of it
Yes.
and threatening her. And on top of that, it's like, did your mama not tell you what she did to the cop? I wouldn't be saying nothing. I would have been like,
No.
if my mom was like, yo, when I rolled up, I did have to, bang bang on the cop, but she already cut through him pretty good. He wasn't
Hmm.
gonna
Like
make it. He
I
wasn't
really
gonna
didn't
make it.
have to. I was just doing it to like,
Speed up the process. I was just speeding up the
yeah, I was
process.
trying to show my dominance in the situation.
Like, but she put the knife in his back a lot, and
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't be messing with her if I was Gunner at age 16. Like, who? How are you
Hmm.
so tough? It's like, how are you so tough that you're 16 years old and you're gonna face off against a 31-year-old woman like that just because she's like what 4'5"?
And then he's over here and he's flexing his privilege too, and he's like, "This is America. They're always gonna go with me," or something like that. I
Yeah,
was like,
he said they're always gonna
"Ugh."
listen to people like me, and I'm like,
Yeah, that's what it is.
but you're not wrong, but also you don't have to say it out loud.
No,
He said
no,
the
they don't.
quiet part out loud. He said the
He
quiet part
did.
out loud.
He said the quiet part out loud, and that really showed his colors there. I was like, "Oh,
Hmm.
Esther, please, you can hit him a
Like
third time."
Esther, just yeah, hit him below the belt this time. Hit him below the
Yeah,
belt. Make
for
sure he
real.
can't reproduce.
Hmm. Sterilize this one.
Exactly.
And actually, just because you brought it up, I was going to bring it up a little later, but you said the thing about Trisha kind of coming off as a stepmother,
Hmm.
like Cinderella's evil
Hmm.
stepmother. And Esther was giving me Cinderella vibes when she was always talking to the rats
The
that lived
rats.
in the, um
Mhm.
what is that? Like a little grate in her
Yeah, it was
room,
a
I
little
guess?
great, yeah. I don't know if it was, like,
Yeah.
air for airflow or something, but
Yeah, I don't know, we're from down south and,
they don't
we
have
don't
that
have those
stuff.
kinda things.
Yeah, this is in Connecticut. If anybody lives in Connecticut and has seen this movie, please tell us what that is.
Yeah, what is that thing? I'm genuinely curious. It
Yeah.
looks really interesting.
Mhm.
It's a very ornate one too, so that's
Is
cool.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, what is it? So Trisha puts some sleeping medication
I think
in.
so.
Okay.
This
Um,
is after, she realizes that Esther is trying to hit on her husband, and,
yes.
yeah, she throws out a lot of ableist insults at her
Again. Mhm.
and, says, "I'm going to go upstairs and F my husband."
Which I was like, "Girl,
We're just like, "Julia Stiles, you've come a long way from 10 Things I Hate About You."
she really has. You wanna know something? I was just rewatching this movie earlier today, and I'm watching in the living room, and my poor father had to hear that line. Shout out, dad. Shout out to my dad.
Oh, yeah.
He's listening.
He listens to
Um,
us.
but she said that, and my dad went, "Oh." I've just never heard him be like audibly like disgusted with something somebody said in a movie, and
Oh,
like I had to hold back
no.
a laugh because I was currently typing in my notes the quote.
Just like, oh, we censored it because our family listens to this, watches these videos and
Yeah,
listens to this podcast, but she's pretty graphic with it. She's pretty graphic
yeah,
with
no,
it.
the F word is very frequent in her language.
Especially in this sentence.
Oh yeah. But yeah, so it's after that she tries to poison Esther at dinner,
Mhm.
and Esther actually excuses herself from dinner and takes her plate upstairs with her, and she just feeds it to the rats because she's like, I don't want to eat this. I'm so sick and tired of this woman.
Yeah,
She doesn't know that
that
the food
it's
is poison though.
yeah, and also how the audacity of Trisha to make this nice ass dinner for everybody, but then make her macaroni and cheese and hot dogs.
Yeah,
She made her
she
a
made
poor man's
lamb.
she made a poor man's dinner for, and I mean, I'm not knocking macaroni and cheese and hot dogs because it does hit when it hits. But the fact that they're rich and you made dinner for everybody, and I guess that was her way partially of signaling Esther out, but also partially to
Yeah.
make sure she didn't mix up the plates.
She had no faith in herself.
She had no, like, that was the first thing I thought. I was like, she must have made that whole other meal not only just to make a dig at Esther, but also so she didn't give it to like Alan by accident.
Yeah, because Alan doesn't need any other he
Poor
doesn't need anything
Alan.
else.
He's just like, I'm just painting. I'm in my studio painting. I'm just like I'm happy my daughter's back. Everything's great.
Alan deserves better.
Poor Alan. And then Gunnar and Trisha are over here like, "Yeah, well, how do we get rid of this woman?"
Yeah. Gunner's over here playing both of the ugly stepsisters.
He really is. He's got
Yeah.
the attitude. He's got the
Yeah, he
attitude.
does. But yeah, so Esther does find the rats dead later on. And she's like, "Oh, okay. So you want to play that game, Trisha? Well, you get ready. You
F
get
in the
ready,
chat for
honey."
the rat.
Yeah, honestly, though, I've been chat for the rat because it was really sad. Um, but the next morning, Esther is making Trisha and Alan some breakfast.
Hmm.
I guess Gunner too. I don't know. He doesn't exist for me sometimes.
He doesn't
Um,
deserve breakfast.
no, he doesn't. But she's making everybody food. Alan's like, do I smell bacon? Like he's feeling it. He's like, Esther, what can't you do? You're incredible. I love you. And Esther's like, yes, that's right. I am your woman. I mean, daughter.
I'll take care of you. I'll make you bacon every morning, Alan.
hmm And then, so everybody's sitting down to eat, and Trisha's like, I'm not hungry because she's salty because right now her man is proud of his daughter, but she's seeing it as her man is
Mhm.
attracted to his daughter. I don't know. It's all kinds of messy.
Exactly.
Um, she's like, I'm just gonna go ahead and make my smoothie. And Esther's like, girl, I got you. I already made you your smoothie.
Mhm.
And so she serves up the smoothie exactly how Trisha wants it. And Trisha takes a sip and she's like, okay, yeah, yeah, it's good. And she goes to dump the rest out in the sink. And out comes the dead rat from her from her cup. And man, I wasn't even thinking that she would have done that. And I was like,
Mhm.
Esther,
Yeah.
my girl.
Yeah. I actually remembered that from the trailer because when the movie was coming out, because it was weird. The movie had
Hmm.
no press when it was coming out until like a week
No.
before it came out. And then all of a sudden the
Yeah.
trailer was everywhere. And then I remembered that from the trailer. That was one scene they did include was her dumping the smoothie into the thing and you see the rat. And she's like, oh, like I was like, oh, okay. But then like seeing it within the context of the movie, knowing now what who Trisha was and what she was doing, it's like, you deserved
Hmm.
it. Like at first you're watching the trailer and you're like, Esther, why would you do that? Why'd you put a dead rat in that woman's smoothie? There's no reason.
There's
There's
no
no reason. And
reason.
then you watch
No,
it, and
there
you're
was
like,
a
there was a
reason.
reason. Okay, she deserved that. She
Hmm.
deserved that dead rat. Okay.
It was so satisfying. Oof, I was feeling it, and that's when
Hmm.
Trisha knew. That's when Trisha knew she effed up.
Oh yeah. She knew in that moment. The narrator's voice kicked in and was like, it was right then that she knew she messed up.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, and then they the whole night before, Alan was talking about taking Esther to town where he was going to meet with a possible like I don't know what they call him, somebody in the art world that was gonna like I guess show his
Art
paintings.
appraiser,
Yeah,
I
art
believe.
appraiser that was gonna yeah. And he was gonna meet with them and he wants to take Esther with him, but Trisha's like, no, I have nothing in common with Esther and I need to find things with Esther, which is just her way of like, I'm keeping you away from my husband because like
Mhm.
I know what you want to do with him.
Mhm.
So she so they do go to the train station, the whole family goes, and Alan does show Esther that he's going to show her drawing of him to his friend who runs a school, an art school, like a very prestigious art school. And he's like, you've got a lot of talent, and you can tell in this moment this really means a lot to Esther.
Yeah.
um I guess at this point in her life no one's ever really praised her art, because you can see it like on her face that like, not even just because it's Alan and she's like down bad for Alan, but like also like someone's praising her for something that she's always done, because in the beginning of the movie she's painting, in the original movie she's always painting, she's always
Mhm.
drawing, and she's really good at it.
Yeah.
She's really good at it. And so I think seeing somebody have that kind of faith in her, I think maybe made her very like happy. Um, then she decides, he gives her the like tube that's carrying all the drawings to hold on to it till he gets to the train station. He's like, I'm gonna go get coffee. And as she gets there, she sees Gunnar and Trisha standing at the edge of the platform, and she goes to knock them onto the train platform so they can be run over by the train. But then she's run into by some old guy who's like, "Watch it, kid," and that blows her
Yeah.
cover.
Honestly, though, Esther should have killed him too.
She should have, but
But
yeah.
yeah, Dad shows up and he's like, "Hey, what's going on?" Gunner's just like, "Oh, Esther trip. That's all." They say bye to Dad, and Trisha grabs Esther by the weave.
She does. She does. And I just got to point out, it's kind of funny. Like, if you were walking through a train station and you didn't have context for this, and you saw some woman just holding her child by the hair aggressively, you'd be
Oh
like,
yeah.
should I call CPS?
Oh,
Should
absolutely.
I should I do that?
Absolutely.
Should I call CPS? I feel like I should call CPS. I feel like there's something going on here that's a little sus.
Yeah, it doesn't read well
It doesn't.
to the room,
It
but
doesn't at all.
I guess she went undetected. So
I mean, they got into a whole fight in the train station. Like,
I know, and I
they
was
got
like,
into
really,
a whole
nobody's
fight,
here right now?
and nobody stopped them. Like, she's literally like fighting a child in like the eyes of like an everyday person. She's literally like fighting a child, rolling around on the floor. Esther gets off that great pepper spray shot on Gunner. I was like,
Yes, which
thank God, just blind him. He doesn't need to
that was so
see.
nice.
Um,
Mm-mm.
and yeah, Nobody seemed to
Yeah.
care. Nobody seemed to care. They're like, "Oh, this happens every day at this train station. Somebody gets into a fist fight with their kids."
um, Esther runs off and takes Trisha's car. Trisha runs over. She pulls a reverse Brendan Urie and tells her to open the goddamn door. um, and Esther just flips her the bird and drives off. And we
This
get a really cool scene where Esther is just driving. Maniac is playing on the radio, and
mhm.
she's got the shades on, and
Puts
like
on
my girl
lipstick.
is, yeah, she puts on lipstick.
You could tell she's like, "Oh, I finally can drop the act." She lights a
Yeah,
cigarette. She's
yeah.
driving. She takes her hair like down a little bit, and she's like shaking it, and she's just like trying to look more mature, and she's just driving, smoking her cigarette, leaning, and then the cops show up.
Hmm.
And when they pull him over, she tries to look more mature. She lowers her glasses and goes, "Was I going too fast?" And then the officer's like, "You must be Esther." I'm like, "Oh no!" But it was cool seeing her like acting more grown up and stuff like that, more her
Yeah,
age, like acting her
it was a cool
age,
moment.
like just
I really
dropping that
appreciated seeing
facade.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, it's something that we were never going to get in the first movie, and so it was just really cool to see those moments.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, moving on to the grand finale of the movie here. Trisha and Gunnar has had enough at this point, and they decide to finish Esther once and for all. Actually, just a quick side note here. When Gunnar is like back at the house and he's like, "Mom, we need to go to the hospital," and she's like, "Yeah, whatever, I don't care." I was like, "See, Gunnar, nobody cares about you."
I know. She's like doesn't even care about taking her son to the hospital. He's like, "We need to go to the hospital painting," and she's like pacing, and she's just like, "No, we don't. We're not
No,
going
we
to the hospital."
don't. He's like, "But mommy, I've always been your favorite."
And she's like, "Not right now. We got to get Esther and end her life."
We got to do this again.
Hmm.
Yeah, so they when Esther is dropped off back at the house from by the police officer, they decide that they are going to try to make it look like Esther unalived herself. But of course, Esther is smarter, better, faster, stronger than them, and she breaks free, takes off, and makes it to the staircase where she tries to go down the stairs. But Gunnar grabs her and they kind of wrestle for a moment. And then Gunnar throws her down the stairs where she just, she hits the bottom and she's not moving for the moment.
Yeah.
Um,
Just to interject real quick,
mhm.
it's also heavily implied in the scene that that's probably how the original Esther died.
Absolutely. Yeah. And because the mom walks over and she's like, "What's going on?" And he says something like, "Oh, it was just an accident." And the way she's just kind of rolls her eyes, she's like, "Oh my god." You
Like
can see she's
again,
like, "Again?"
like the second time.
Like, come on, Gunner, jeez.
Stop throwing my daughters down the stairs, Gunner.
Like, can you just not? So they're trying to figure out like, okay, we're gonna have to get rid of the body because it's assumed that she is dead at this moment. But then she gets a call from Alan, and he's on his way home because he got a phone call from the police about Esther, and her going rogue
Her
and
joyride. Her joyride.
her going on the joyride for a minute.
She was a
Um,
Steeltown girl looking for the fight of her life.
yes.
Steeltown girl on a Saturday night looking for the fight of her life. That's the lyric. Sorry.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. um, at this point, um, Gunnar and Trisha know that they have to hurry um, and do something about Esther. But when they turn around, Esther's missing. She's no longer at the bottom of the stairs. So now they have to search the home and try to find her. So they split up. Gunnar goes over to the well, first actually he goes over to his fencing bag and he grabs his fencing sword, and it's kind of funny for a moment because he like stops and puts on the mask, the fencing mask, and then he's
Mhm.
like, "No, no, like like I got to look good while I do this."
Oh my gosh.
I just thought that part was like kind of funny in
Hmm.
the moment. But he makes his way into Alan's painting studio, and he's starting to walk around with the fencing sword looking for her, and it's a cool moment because you get some shots of like her shadow moving by, or you see like
Mhm.
her profile. um and then finally he is face to face with Esther, except she is wielding his crossbow from
Yeah.
earlier, and this is his moment where he's like, oh snap.
Mhm.
And she shoots him with the crossbow and then proceeds to stab him to death with his own fencing sword.
Yeah.
Um, Trisha is standing behind Esther when this happens, and she becomes enraged because she has now lost both of her children and begins to fight Esther in the kitchen, where a fire starts on the stovetop. Esther flees upstairs to her room and out the window as the whole home is ablaze. Alan finally gets home with a taxi, tells the taxi driver to call the fire department, and proceeds to like run into the house.
Mhm.
But it's like 2 seconds, and I feel like he Jason teleported upstairs into the window.
He did, he did.
Like, I was like, damn, that house is burning. How did he get up the stairs that
So fast.
fast? um, and at this moment, he is faced with having to make a choice since both Esther and Trisha are both hanging from the side of the roof, holding on for dear life. So he has to choose who he's going to save, the girl he thinks is his daughter, or his wife.
Mhm.
Um, but it is in this moment he chooses Esther, and he watches his wife fall to her death and hugs Esther's face to see if she's okay. But when he's squeezing her face, her fake teeth come out, and he is now like horrified because he's realizing this is not his little girl. Esther drops the act. She her voice is lower, and she's saying that she did all of this for them, and understandably shocked, he calls her a monster, and she in turn throws him off of the roof. So Esther has now killed the entire family. And she just kind of like, composes herself, gets herself together, and then slowly like walks down the stairs like there's no fire going on.
Yeah, my roommate was like, when we were watching this the first time, she was like, "Yeah, that's fake." I mean, she would be coughing her head off, the how much
Right?
smoke she's inhaling.
She's like over here like just primping for a second, making sure she looks
Mhm.
good before she gets
Just
downstairs.
walking casually, like, It's a nice day."
So of course she is taken in. And the movie ends with a police officer and a social worker discussing Esther's misfortune as she waits to be taken in by an orphanage. Thus, the beginning of the original Orphan movie. And
Yay.
yeah, yeah, applause, applause. Yeah, that is Orphan First Kill. What do you think, Shay?
I absolutely loved this movie. I loved the first one. I mean, I like the first one better, just because of the fact that it was just so like iconic when it came out. In my eyes, it was iconic. I'm sure there's going to be people like, "Oh, stupid movie." I think it was the movie that really put Vera Farmiga on the map as far as being a horror actress.
Mhm.
Like, of course, everybody knows her because of The Conjuring now, but at the time, she was pretty much relatively unknown, and she didn't
Mhm.
really like, I'd never heard of her. I never even saw her before Orphan.
Yeah,
And when I saw her in that movie, I was like, I love her acting. Like, she's so fantastic. So I'm glad that
she's
she ended up
fantastic.
becoming like a staple in horror. Um but this movie, I definitely thought, like, first of all, totally great idea that they decided to do a prequel instead of a sequel.
Mhm.
Especially considering that the canon ending of the movie, even though there is an alternate ending where Esther lives, is that Esther's killed.
Mhm.
The canon ending is that. So it wouldn't have made sense for them to retcon that ending and then decide to make a sequel where she's like older and like, especially since Isabel Furman is older, you can tell in this movie when you're watching it, she looks older in the face. There's times where you're like, okay, yeah, that's definitely not a child. But I also think that kind of works to her favor for this character.
Yes, because we now know she's a
Hmm.
grown woman, and
Yeah.
so the timing in that way could couldn't have been better.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that when this movie first came out, that I saw complaining like that they didn't replace
Mhm.
her with like another child that they but I was like, but actually that works because the majority of us, if you're watching Orphan First Kill, you should have already watched Orphan. Like this is one
Yes,
rare time I will say do not watch the prequel before you've watched the original
original. Mhm.
because without if you watch the prequel, it's going to take away, if you've never seen it, it takes away that shock of that twist in the original. So I would definitely say unless you've seen the original, don't watch the prequel before you watch the original, you know what I mean? um but I really did like this movie. It was really well acted. I like the fact that they didn't draw everything out. The plot twist happened pretty much in like as early in the movie as it could, so
Yes.
they could play around with the cat and mouse between Trisha, Gunnar, and Esther or Lena.
Mhm.
Lena Esther. Um, I like that they did that. I also like that they didn't try to go for a twist that was so out there, like the twist of this is a woman with a disability that just makes her look like she's a child, but she's actually a grown woman. They went with something a little bit more realistic, which is like,
Yes.
hey, this family has a dark secret. And I also have to praise them for doing a really good job when they did advertise this movie of not giving any of that away.
Mhm. They hit it very
They
well.
hit it very well. So it was a really good movie, really entertaining. Um Probably one of the better ones of last year that released. I know there's gonna be
Yeah.
people that disagree with that, but, as far as story and writing, it may not be scary and it may not be as gory as other movies that came out, but as far as story and consistency, this is probably one of the more consistent horror movies that came out in 2022 as far as story goes.
I have to agree with you there. I mean, for me, I really appreciate, not appreciate, but I am a fan of William Brent Bell and his work. Um, I like how he's done twists in the past with other movies and franchises. I guess can I call it like the Boy a franchise? I'm not sure.
I haven't seen the
Um,
second movie of The Boy, but I know the first movie, that twist was like
uh,
in the similar
yeah,
vein. I won't say it here, but it was in the similar vein of Orphan, where my jaw hit the floor when that twist happened.
absolutely. Don't bother with the Boy too. Don't bother.
I had no desire to see it. It
Yeah.
looked terrible, and it looked like it ruined what was good about the first movie.
And that's exactly what it did. But we're this isn't an episode about the boy, but yeah, I just wanted to notate that for a second. But I do like his work, and I am really excited about his movie that's coming out later this year. Um but I don't know. I had lower expectations for this movie going into it. Um, I just didn't think I was going to get something as satisfying as that twist that we had in the original, but this was equally as satisfying for me. I think it's because of when they decided to give us the twist in the movie,
Hmm.
and we had still so much movie to watch. It's
Yeah.
almost like I guess this is like a little weird analogy, but it's almost like when you get the happily ever after of a movie. Sorry, I'm getting myself tongue tied tonight.
It's okay.
But it's like when you get the happily ever after of a movie, but you get to see a bit of what happens after that.
Hmm.
This is like you get the twist of the movie and they're not just like wrapping it up really quick.
Hmm.
We can now explore this, and it's something I hope more movies do in the future.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's really a smart way to go because I mean, then there's movies like Barbarian that gave away its twist in the beginning of the pretty much in the beginning of the movie, and then you're like, please let this movie end. It's not good. It's not what I want. Send it back. But no, yeah, I agree with what you're saying. I absolutely agree with what you were saying.
Yeah. Do we want to give a skull rating
Oh
for the
yeah,
movie?
you know we've always got to give a skull rating for the movies that we watch.
Alrighty, you want to go first?
Yeah. So I will give Orphan First Kill a 4.5 out of 5 skulls. Um,
Mhm.
it is a very well written, well acted um, prequel. It's a worthy successor of the franchise, I guess you can say. I don't really know if can consider it a franchise, but
Yeah.
it is a worthy successor. everybody, I like, kudos to them for having Isabel Furman return, because the movie wouldn't have been the same if they cast
If
somebody
they
else to
didn't
play
have
her.
her.
She
Mhm.
is Esther, and I think she's aware of that. She don't, I mean, I think around the time the movie came out, or it was around Halloween time, I think she actually dressed up as Esther for like Halloween. And like, I was on TikTok, somebody sent me a TikTok of her like at a bonfire dressed up as Esther, and she was just like, "My name is
Oh.
Esther," and I'm like, "Oh my god!" She loves the role. She loves the role, and you know, it's like Freddy Krueger. It's like a Robert Englund with Freddy Krueger. You know, when
Yeah.
they love the role, it's hard to imagine anybody else playing it. So, the only reason I'm not giving it 5 out of 5 skulls is because it's not quite a perfect movie. Obviously, it's not very scary, and I did think the
Mhm.
first Orphan was creepy. I thought the first
Yes,
Orphan was very creepy, because the whole entire time you're trying to figure out what the heck is happening with Esther. What is going on with Esther? Why is she like this?
absolutely.
And going in the movie, knowing what's wrong with Esther, it's kind of like, it takes away some of the creepiness. And also, when you find yourself rooting for the person who's supposed to be the villain, essentially,
Mhm.
of the series, it kind of takes away some of that scariness, because now you're not afraid of what's going on the screen. You're like,
Mhm.
get rid of them, throw them out. But
Exactly. You wanna see them
mhm,
take these people out.
yeah, but
Um
it's a good movie.
mhm.
I like it, and I recommend it to
Yeah.
people.
It's definitely a good watch for sure. Um, Actually, before I go into my skull rating, I did want to say, when it comes to Isabel Furman's her role in this film and how she reprised her role, I have to give a lot of kudos to the makeup artists, the the cinematography. They went leaps and bounds to make her seem shorter. She's 5'3" in real life, so about my height. Um,
Yeah, same with my height
and
too.
yeah, yeah. And they had like Julia Stiles on stilts, or not stilts, sorry, on platforms,
Yeah, I heard
for a
that.
lot of the film, and like even in moments when they're supposed to be walking next to each other, they have Julia Stiles walking ahead of her a bit, so then we have a bit of that
It's
what's the
forced
word,
perspective.
force perspective. Thank you.
Thank you,
Which is
Disney. I
really
learned that
cool.
road from
I
that
was
phrase
gonna
from
I was
Disney.
about to say I was gonna say that's a Cinderella Castle thing.
Cinderella Castle makes it look bigger because it's farther away, because the way the buildings are aligned.
I actually learned too, when I was looking things up. That's the same thing that they did in Lord of the Rings to
Yep.
make Gandalf look taller, which I
hmm
didn't know. I've never looked that much
Yeah,
into
into
Lord of the
Lord of the
Rings. It
Rings.
was something I watched a lot as a kid, but
But you never really look to see how they made it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I think I just found that out last year, so it's yeah. I just found out about the forced perspective thing with Gandalf in Lord of the Rings.
Also, if you ever watch the movie again, Orphan First Kill, that is, when you get to the fight scene at the end of the movie between Esther and Trisha, um, know that that Isabel Furman is actually sitting down the entire time.
Oh wow.
Yeah, she's on like a this thing. It's kind of like a bike seat on wheels, and so
Hmm.
she's sitting down, so it kind of looks like she's running around, but much shorter in the scene because for that scene, Julia Stiles couldn't wear the platforms because she wouldn't be able to run in them.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Of course, any spots where you're seeing the back of her head, it's a stunt double, a child, but
Yeah.
still like a really cool thing. When I rewatched it, knowing that, I was like, it was a cool thing to see the
Yeah.
choreography. But for my skull rating, I'm going to give the movie 4 out of 5 skulls. Thoroughly enjoyed it, but my reasons for giving it that rating are actually the same as yours. Where you didn't have that scary or creepy aspect to it anymore
hmm
because we already know the twist, and from the first movie I'm saying,
Yeah, yeah.
and the twist that they introduce in this movie does not necessarily make it any creepier. You're just now rooting for Esther, and
hmm
so I didn't really have that, suspense when watching the movie that I have with others.
hmm
But yeah, um,
Yeah.
favorite kill?
I would probably say I'd probably say Trisha because her head like literally explodes when she falls on the ground. You see it like pop in the back, and it's pretty graphic. Like surprisingly
Yeah.
enough, it's pretty graphic because like her the Allen's isn't as graphic, but when she hits the
No.
ground, her like the back
Yeah.
of her head pops. I was like, oh,
Mhm.
well, that's gross.
It's very graphic. I have to go with, my girl Itchy taking down the security guard.
That was a great scene.
Mhm. She got her candy in the end, well
It
deserved.
is what she deserved. Yeah, she did deserve that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, do we move on to our next segment of the evening?
Absolutely.
Woo-hoo.
Absolutely. Let's go on to our next segment. So, real quick, before we get into a little bit of horror news, nothing too crazy this week, but we do have a Patreon. We've told you guys this before when we did our welcome home video, which is up there and ready to watch. And every month we have decided we're going to do something called Bad Movie of the Month, where we pick a movie that is known for being a little bit terrible in the horror genre. And I don't mean terrible by like the standards of like people with their nose up in the air, but like movies that are like not even objectively terrible. Like the people who made them probably knew they were making a bad movie. Like,
Mhm.
uh,
Think The Room.
think The Room, but scary. Unless you find Tommy
Yeah.
Wiseau scary, then you know
And
The
shame on
Room.
you.
Yeah, shame on you because he's very nice. um,
Mhm.
um, so this month, Gina picked the movie, and we watched Jason Takes Manhattan. If
Ooh.
you guys have ever seen that movie, you know what it's like. It was fun. It was a lot of work to get it to work, but we got it.
Yeah.
um, I'm going to insert a quick clip just to show you guys what we are going to have going on. If you're listening to this on Spotify, you're not going to hear the clip. We're just going to skip to the next segment. But if you're watching this on YouTube, you're going to get to see like just a quick little clip. But if you want to see the whole video, you can go over to our Patreon and you'll be able to watch it there. We have tiers starting as low as $1. So all you have to do is pay us, like you put $1 down and you can watch us watch Jason Takes Manhattan and laugh our entire butts off. So
Yeah, watch it with us. We'll
watch
have
it with
fun.
us. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So I'm just going to insert that clip right here and then we'll get back to the video.
Am I watching Mortal Kombat?
All right. All right. So now that we've done our shameless plug for the night, the bit of horror news that we have this week, they dropped two horror movie trailers this week that people have been talking about a lot. One because one of the movies has had so much buzz around how scary it is, and the other because it is a fifth installment bringing back the original characters from the first two movies of a very long running franchise.
Yeah.
So we're not going to show you the trailers because copyright. But we'll start with talking about the Boogeyman. What did you think of the trailer for the Boogeyman?
I'm really excited about this movie.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm a Stephen King fan all the way.
Hmm.
I mean, I think most people in the horror genre are.
Oh yeah,
But no, this looks really good. Um, I'm not quite sure what to say, but I think I'll be creeped out by this one.
yeah.
Sorry.
So this movie, what's been going on with this movie is that the director of the movie has been coming around and saying that he's had to recut the film multiple times because in various different showings of the movie, um, people got too scared of the monster reveal the first time they saw it that they screamed and then they would not stop talking after it. So there was a long bit of movie that they missed.
Oh my gosh, seriously?
Yeah. Yeah. So people are saying this one might be genuinely scary. I'm excited for it because I've been watching the show Yellow Jackets on Showtime. And Sophie Thatcher is in this movie, and she's also my favorite character in Yellow Jackets. So I'm really excited. Aside from it just looking really good, and me honestly having to praise them because they tried to show as little as possible. They came this close to showing the monster. They show you a glimpse of the monster in the
Yeah,
trailer.
I'm really curious.
Um, but I'm excited because they did something that the other trailer didn't do, which you know is keep the suspense alive. So it kind of makes me go, okay, I definitely want to see this. I think it's going to be a good movie. I'm not gonna go into the movie expecting to be terrified of it, because every time, like I said in the past, every time someone says this was the scariest movie you'll ever see, I'm like, we'll see about that. Um,
Yeah.
but it looks like it'll be a good movie, and it'll have some good moments. Probably a lot of jump scares. So if you're the kind of person that doesn't like jump scares, I'd maybe sit this one out. But
Yeah, that's what I'm really excited about with this one, especially since this week I didn't watch any horror movies that were necessarily scary. Everything I watched this week was kind of on par with like Orphan First Kill, where it wasn't a jump scary movie.
mhm.
Um, but this trailer has me excited, and this is something I may want to see in theater. I like watching jump scare movies in theaters because I like, getting scared with everybody else in the room. But we don't have to wait too long for this movie. It actually comes out June 2nd.
Yeah, I know. I'm super
Yeah,
excited. We might have to go see that together because I'll
that's
be in
true.
town, so we might have to go see that together.
We should make a thing out of it.
Yeah, it'll be fun. And then the second movie trailer, which I am excited about because I love the first movie of this franchise, but I also was disappointed in the trailer because they showed way too much, was the Insidious 5 trailer, which is bringing back the entire original cast, including Ty Simpkins, who is a fully grown adult now. And my mind is
Yes.
blown because when I saw him, I was like, wait, weren't you just a kid?
When you were telling me that before I watched the trailer, I was like trying to picture in my head. I'm like, oh. But then I watched it and like my jaw dropped.
Yeah, because at first, like when they said they were bringing him back, I guess it's because like the last thing I saw him in was Jurassic World,
Yeah.
and so in my mind, I was expecting him to still look like he did in Jurassic World. So when he showed up on screen, I was like, "Hold up, that's not the
He's a
same
man.
kid from Insidious and Jurassic
You like want to
World."
cry. You're like proud.
Yeah, I mean he's a grown man. He's an adult. If you've seen the first Insidious movie, the kid that was in a coma for like the entire movie, he's a man now.
He's a
He's
man
grown.
now.
I know people are going to be like, yeah, people grow up. That's what happens. But like, it's just weird because like, it's also weird because I did just watch the first Insidious movie not too long ago. I think it was like 2 weeks ago.
Mm.
I was bored. It's on HBO Max. I love the movie. It's one of my favorites. Especially the kid dancing to Tiny Tim. That's like my favorite scene. He's just breaking it
Iconic.
down. He's like, I'm like, yeah, tiptoe by the window. Yeah,
And Tiny Tim's
absolutely.
back.
Yeah, and
Tiny
Tiny
Tim's
Tim was
back.
back. I'm just like, I am here for all of it. Give me everything. Um, so how did you feel about the Insidious 5 trailer?
I'm hyped for this one too. I have to brush up on my Insidious knowledge.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've seen 1 and 2,
That's all you need
but
to see.
oh.
That's all you
Oh,
need to see.
well,
3 and 4, I don't think are going to come into place because they have no they don't allude back to the first two really at all, aside from like Lynn
okay.
Shay being in them. That's the only time they really allude back to the first two, but they don't connect to that family like Patrick Wilson's family in the movie. They
Interesting.
don't connect to
Okay.
that family really. That they said this is like the first time they're going back to that storyline, which has me excited because Insidious genuinely freaked me out the first time I watched it. It is a
Mhm.
jump scary movie, and most, if not all, of the jump scares got me. Especially the
Mhm.
creepy smiling lady. Is that the one part when the paranormal investigator is like flashing his camera in the hallway, and it just keeps showing you from the view of the camera, and then there's the two ladies standing there like at the end, like you know something's gonna happen. The scene's too quiet, but then when they show you
Mhm.
what it is, I was like, oh, and like they're smiling. Why are they standing there like just smiling? And then
Yeah.
the ending when Patrick Wilson's in the further and like the people are sitting on the couch just smiling. I'm like, I hate this. Like everyone always talks about the lipstick demon, the red face guy, but I'm like,
Yeah.
why are we not talking about the creepy smiling people? They're just sitting there like with the newspaper just smiling, and then like he turns around and turns back and then they're all standing behind him and they just cock their heads to the side and smile. I'm like, nah, see, I'm out. I don't
That's
like
what
the
Smile should have been,
Mhm.
in my opinion.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. It kind of was kind of like that, but not entirely.
It was. More of it though, I would have
More
loved to have.
smiling, more smiling.
Yeah, more smiling. Can never have enough smiling in a movie
Mhm.
called Smile.
Absolutely.
Um, the release date for Insidious 5 is actually July 7th.
Okay,
So
yeah,
just a month later, so
we don't have to wait too long for that one. The trailer, I do feel like you're watching pretty much the
yes.
entire movie, which does disappoint me a little bit because I want to be surprised, but at the same time, I'm probably not going to watch the trailer again just for that. As long as TikTok doesn't decide to bombard me with it like it did with Smile, because that made
Mhm.
me mad. Like, I watched the Smile trailer the first time, and then I was like, okay, I'm sufficiently creeped out by this movie because I don't like people smiling at me. And then every time I would go on TikTok, it was just like, here's the Smile trailer again. Here's the Smile trailer again. And I'm like, okay, now I'm not scared of this movie. You just desensitized
Yeah.
me. Thanks. You just ruined the movie for me. I'm not scared anymore. Now I'm kind
Mhm.
of like sitting there in the theaters like, and here's this woman breaking her neck to smile at somebody in the car, which made me throw my phone when I saw the trailer the first time. I literally threw my phone across my bed, like because I was just
That's
expecting her to.
awesome.
I was expecting her to go like this, like just drop down and smile, like like
Nope.
creepy. And then like she walks over and you just hear the crack and her whole head breaks and like she's smiling. I was like, no, my phone went flying. I was like, nope.
Not gonna lie, I wish I could do that sometimes. My neck really be hurting, and
Yeah,
I'm over here like twisting it like that.
you probably feel good on your spine too.
Yeah, I would.
As
She
you
knows
guys
what she's
can
doing.
tell, I don't like people smiling creepy. Like that's just yeah. Oh, that's beautiful though, Gina. You look
Thank you.
beautiful.
Um,
You look
I
beautiful.
try.
People listening on Spotify are like, what'd she just do? You gotta go to
I
YouTube.
smiled.
You gotta go to YouTube to see. But yeah, no, so those are two horror movies that are coming out fairly soon within the next couple months. So be on the lookout for those. I think that they're going to be pretty good and something people can talk about.
Mhm.
And Evil Dead Rise just came out this weekend. If you guys go to see that, let us know what you think.
Yeah, we have been yet to see it.
I haven't seen it. I'm supposed to go see it this week at some point, but
Okay.
yeah, I we're probably not going to do a full episode on that because I know for me personally, I can't remember things after I've seen them in theaters unless I talk about them right after.
Mhm.
Um I can't remember things like once it's been a few days if I can't sit down and watch it again just to refresh my memory, like my brain's just like it's gone. Um
What if we did, well, the thing is I'll probably be waiting to see it with you when you're here next
mhm.
month, but, you could always do, like, a quick TikTok review.
Yeah, we could
That'd
do
be kinda
that.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I could probably do that just to let you guys know what I think. I've been hearing great things about it, so I'm excited to see it. Also, I've been hearing just to let you guys know if you're like a parent, content warning, bad stuff does happen to kids, and they don't shy away from showing it. I haven't watched it yet,
Mm,
but if you don't like bad things happening to kids, don't go see this movie. Just avoid it at all costs.
mm.
Because they said they do not shy away from showing the violence against children in this movie, and I'm like, oh boy.
Ah.
I'm like, oh boy, that sounds lovely. But yeah, so that's our horror news for this week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now we are moving on to our kind of like random topic for the
Mm-hmm.
week where we close out the show. This week is our hot takes and our most controversial horror opinion. Um,
Yes,
so we both have
absolutely.
come to the table with one. Um, I think you should go first this week, though, because last week I started.
Yes. All right. So my hot take, my most controversial horror opinion. I've kind of voiced this before, but I'm gonna just reiterate it again. Gore is not scary. And just because a movie is gory and violent does not make it scary. Um, I don't like movies that have gore in them, like extreme amounts of gore that don't have a plot or have a very minimal plot or the whole plot revolves around how gross can we make this? How we want to make people vomit. That's what we want. Like I don't see that as entertaining and fun. It's not scary. And I know there's people out there that probably go, oh, but like imagine your arm getting ripped off or getting disemboweled. Yeah, of course that's a terrifying thought, but like I don't want to watch a whole movie of somebody getting cut up, stabbed, beaten, and there's like no plot to it aside from like how gross can we make it. I'll put it
Hmm.
this way. Hostel, the Hostel movies, they don't need to exist. They don't need to exist. Like I get that the premise is kind of scary. Like you go on vacation and some people just rich people just kidnap you and like torture you. But that movie devolves very quickly into how disgusting can we make this to make our audience want to vomit while they're watching it.
Truth. Yeah.
And it's just unnecessary. It's not if there's no good hard hitting story that makes me go, oh damn, like this is a good story. Like I don't care. I don't care for gore. That's just me. I'm not a. I like I said, I don't hate gore. I don't think it's awful. I mean, obviously, I watch slasher movies. I've seen a fair amount of people being flayed, being disemboweled, being bashed in the head with a hammer, being cut open. Yeah, I've seen my fair share of it. But if the movie has no plot, or the movie's plot is reliant on the gore, like Human Centipede Part 2, for example, um
God, no. Why did you have to say it?
that that like there's no point for that movie. It's just like, how disgusting can we be? Let's see if we can push the limits of how disgusting we can be.
Hey, Human Centipede 1 was enough.
Yeah, but that didn't go as hard with the
No, it
gore
didn't go as
as,
hard, but I'm saying that was enough.
yeah, the thought process was enough. But yeah, the second one, the second sequence, or the whatever the second one's called, like, that one was just like, whoa, you're just going too far now. You're just losing your minds.
Hmm.
It's too much. So yeah, that's my hot take. Gore is not scary, and it's a very overused thing in horror. And if you don't have a story wrapped around it to make the gore satisfying enough to watch, if it's just what kind of kills can we get, how disgusting can we get, how many people are going to pass out and puke in the theater, your movie's not worth watching to me. That's the way I look at it.
Mic drop.
Yeah, I'm not dropping my mic. I just got this mic.
No. Yeah, you just got the mic. I'm going to drop the metaphorical mic.
Yes. All right. What is your most controversial opinion?
Whenever I say this one, I feel like everyone in the room like side eyes me, and most people just tell me about myself. My controversial hot take is that the movies A Quiet Place and A Quiet Place 2 are absolutely horrible. I hate both of those movies with a passion. Like, I think the first one has like a 90 something percent rating with Rotten Tomatoes, and the second one has like an 80 something percent rating.
Mm-hmm.
No, they suck. These movies suck. They're not scary.
Did you see the first one in theaters?
In theaters, no, I did not. I understand, like, with the sound and everything. Like, I have sensory.
Yeah. I will say
Yeah.
this, because watching it at home, I can't watch those movies at home. Like, I mean, I think they're good movies as far as like the acting goes, but trying to watch them at home, my brain shuts off. I immediately grab something and start playing with it, or like, because when you're in the theater, you can't do anything. You just sit there.
Mm-hmm.
Because you kind of get that feeling like if I move, everybody can hear what I'm doing. So if I like ruffle a bag, then I'm going to ruin the experience for the person next to me. So you get really quiet. Yeah. Like, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it's like, that's why it scared me when I watched the movie the first time, because you were so hyper focused into the movie itself. But when you take away the theatrical element, it's not as there's nothing to it. It's just kind of like, okay, we're quiet.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it so I will say, like, when we watched the movie, like, we put like phones down and everything, because we knew it's a movie that we needed to focus on visually.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't something you could be multitasking with. That part aside, though, that's not even my gripe. This is the dumbest family to ever exist. This is a family of idiots. I hate all of them. But Reagan, I have a gripe with you the most. You are trash. You are a trash human. And you are the reason why your dad's dead.
I was gonna say, I don't even remember who that is.
It's
the little girl. Yeah.
It's the little girl.
I figured it out when you said dad was dead.
Worst horror movie character to ever exist. We need to just wipe her away. I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to make her a final girl. They're trying to make her a final girl boss. She will never.
They should just let it be. They should just let it be Emily Blunt, because Emily Blunt like killed. No. But they are coming out with a prequel that's gonna have Lupita Nyong'o and Joseph Quinn.
Sounds great.
So maybe I'll watch it. Maybe she won't be in it. Maybe that girl won't be in it.
Please.
And maybe it'll be better because
no gripe with the actress. Yeah. It's just that character is the most.
Maybe it'll be better because it's different characters.
Emily Blunt's character too. Sorry, but no, honey. Your little bare feet stepping on the nail and everything. That's the only part that really scared me, because I'm afraid of stepping on a nail.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. No, I'm just saying, these two people are gonna go ahead and have a baby, while this thing was going on.
Yeah.
While this was going on.
Yeah, it's dumb.
They're
It's a
dumb.
dumb
This is the
dumb scenario.
dumbest family to ever exist. Everything that happens to them, they brought upon themselves.
Mhm.
I just sit there and I'm like, I don't feel bad for any of y'all right now.
It's still
Any
better
of
than
y'all.
Bird Box.
Okay, Bird Box is also
Bird
garbage.
Box is one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my entire life. It was such overhyped garbage. People would
It
not
was really
shut up about
overhyped.
it. And when I sat
No.
down and watched it, I was like, this is absolutely the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. What are you guys talking about? This was great.
I I I can't even sit here and tell you what Bird Box is about. That's how uninterested I was when I sat
I
down to
just
watch it.
remember that there were two pregnant women and Machine Gun Kelly was there. I was really triggered when Machine Gun Kelly showed up. I was like, "Why are you here? Who
I'm
sent you
triggered
to
whenever
back?"
Machine Gun Kelly comes up. I'm like, you've ruined rap, you've ruined pop punk. That's another hot take, I guess.
I don't think it's that hot. I think everybody kind of hates MGK, so you're on that. Um, but
I mean, I think you heard the dog out there just now. The dog hates MGK. So,
she was like, "Nope,
mm-mm.
no MGK
Only
for
time she
me."
decided to chime in.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but without, I guess, because I could sit here and I could really say a lot and get myself all heated, but for the sake of saving time, just know I don't like A Quiet Place. Don't come up to me and talk to me about A Quiet Place. Um, Millicent Simmons, you're a fantastic actress. You're a beautiful girl. I applaud your performance in this movie. You've pissed me off thoroughly.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
did nothing wrong. It is that character. It is the writing.
No, I mean, yes, it's her character. Like I said, I've
Yeah.
only seen I've watched the movie twice. Once I saw it once in theaters, and then I saw it again. I watched it one year with my niece, and yeah, it's
Hmm.
just one of those movies that like when you watch it at home. For me, I just can't shut. It's like that movie Hush. You remember that movie that
Yeah,
everyone
I
was like
remember.
losing their minds about? And I'm like, okay, a movie where this was before A Quiet Place, a movie where there's no sound and it's just quiet the whole time. And yeah, it's supposed to be scary because we're supposed to be in the point of view of a woman who's deaf. But I lost interest because I'm like, I can't. There's nothing going on. Like I have to.
Hmm.
You mean I have to put down every single device I own and look at the screen the entire time and watch this movie with no interruptions? I'm like, yeah, I'm bored. I'm bored. I don't feel the tension. I'm not feeling it. And it's kind of the same thing with A Quiet Place. It's like the only reason I liked it so much was because I saw it in theaters and it forces you to pay attention. Like you had no
Hmm.
choice but to sit there and pay attention. Like you couldn't even let your mind wander because you'd let your mind wander and then you'd look back at the screen and be like, wait, what happened?
Yeah.
And you'd be like,
I I mean, I fully knew that I would like jump with this
mm-hmm,
movie with it being quiet and
mm-hmm,
everything. And like, I have like sensitivity to sound and everything, so when it's quiet and you hear something louder, like I automatically get a headache. So I knew I wasn't gonna like enjoy this movie because
mm-hmm.
I was probably gonna get a headache from it. But no, it just, it's not even that. It's just the writing of all of these characters for me. It just wasn't it. I watched A Quiet Place 2 as well. I hated that even
I
more than
didn't
the
care
first
for A
one.
Quiet Place 2 either.
Yeah. Um
I didn't care for
there
that
we
one.
go. That's my hot take. That's my TED talk.
I like how you went the route of picking a movie to like sort of pick apart because I avoided that on purpose. Like I was like, I want to talk about like
Mhm.
tropes within movies because I
I
didn't.
went there first.
Yeah, I want to talk about
Yeah.
tropes because like I was like, yeah, I could pick a movie and just rag on it, but I was like, we might do that movie eventually, and I want to save because I could have just sat here and said how much I absolutely loathe Barbarian. And every single
Yeah.
person knows how much I absolutely hate Barbarian, and I don't understand why everybody loves that movie. I could have sat here and been like, Barbarian's not a good movie, guys. What is wrong with you? What drugs were you on when you were watching this movie? Because I didn't, I was sober and this movie was boring. Um, but like I said, I went for the tropes because I was like, I don't want to rag on it because we might do an episode of it at some point, and I
Yeah.
don't want to I want to save my opinions for that.
I mean, if in the future we end up doing an episode about A Quiet Place or the second one or just about the franchise as a
Mhm.
whole, I'm fully ready to do that. I I will drop a rap about how much I hate the movie.
I don't know. Maybe we'll wait till the prequel or whatever with different characters comes out to see how you
Mhm.
feel about that, and
No one can
see.
be worse than Reagan.
Well, they
No one
might
can be
be. I
worse than
mean,
Reagan.
I'm only excited about it because they have Lupita Nyong'o and Joseph Quinn in it, who played Eddie Munson. For
Mhm.
those of you who don't know, in Stranger Things, if you don't know that, where were you all last summer? Because he was everywhere. But I'm excited to see I'm excited for it for that reason. If they were when they announced they were making another Quiet Place, I was like, why? Please don't do this. Like I know that
Mhm.
the last two,
Let's
I know
let
that
this die.
they both did well, and I know people really love
Oh,
this.
people love
But
this movie, yeah.
my roommate's going to be so triggered by this because she absolutely loves this movie. It's like one of her
I'm
favorite movies
so
ever.
sorry.
Um,
This is why I don't speak.
no, it's okay. It's okay. We're allowed to have our opinions. We're allowed to dislike things. I don't hate the first movie as much as you do, but I wasn't fond of the second movie at all. I just kind of thought it was a movie. I was like, okay, this is a movie. I watched it, and, all right. And but the when they announced that they were deviating from the characters they've had and they were adding two actors that I really love, I'm like, I
Mhm.
will give you a shot. I will hope you enthrall me as much as you did the first time, and maybe give me characters that I genuinely feel for and love. Cause yeah, the whole having a baby when there's like sound sensitive aliens around, like maybe you should
Idiots.
I feel this way about every single apocalyptic movie. Stop thinking about bumping uglies. Stop it.
Honestly, for one, why are you doing that? That's noise on its own. Okay, I'm just saying.
Mhm.
I'm just saying.
Stop
And
thinking
now you're
about
gonna bring a baby into this
yeah,
world, and
stop
that
think
baby don't know.
I mean,
That poor baby don't know no better.
every time I would watch Walking Dead and people are like going off and like
Oh Lord.
frolicking in the woods, I'm like, well, I understand that we have our basic human needs and like urges or whatever, but I'm like, the way I'm thinking is if we're in the middle of a zombie apocalypse or an alien invasion and everything we know has been wiped off, the last thing I'm thinking about is some crusty guy. The last thing I'm
Mm-mm.
thinking about is some crusty guy running around
When
all
y'all got
sweaty and
no
nasty.
showers.
All
Y'all got
sweaty
no
and nasty,
showers.
stinky. I'm not thinking about you. I'm thinking about I don't want to get my face eaten by some zombie, or I don't want to get like vaporized by some alien. That's what
Mhm.
I'm
And
thinking
it's a
of.
shame too, because I love alien movies,
Hmm.
but Reagan ruined it for
Well,
me.
I mean, the best alien movie is Alien, so
Absolutely.
that's the
Hands
best
down.
one. But yeah, so I don't know. Let us know what you guys think. What's your controversial hot take? Whether it's a movie that you don't understand why people love. I know there's probably going to be a lot of people saying they absolutely don't know why people like Hereditary, and they're going to trigger me. Um, um, or if it's more of like a genre staple. Like if you think, jump scares are cool, other people hate jump scares. A lot of people hate jump scares. Maybe you really like jump scares, just let us know what your
Mhm.
controversial horror movie opinion, where you, that meme of Flynn Rider with all the swords pointing at him from
Yeah.
Tangled. What would get you in a room of horror fans looking like that? Mine is gore is not scary. I'm pretty sure a lot of horror fans would be like, take that back. Shoving knives in my face, like, take that back. Hostel's one of the best movies ever made. You don't know true fear until you've seen a Serbian film. And yes, I just mentioned the Serbian film.
Ed, no.
Listen, people really love to bring that movie up when you talk about movies that are
They
scary.
do.
They really love to
They
bring that
really
up, and
do.
I'm like, y'all are sick. What's wrong with you? This movie
Yeah,
is
like I don't
twisted.
mind gore. I'll watch gore with the best of them, but
This is
you know,
beyond gore.
this is
Um,
beyond gore.
or the people that'll like string me up for saying I've never seen Terrifier because I've heard it's nothing but a gore fest, and I'm like, is there a story though? Is there a story, or is it just gore?
Listen,
Is it
you
just
just
is
gotta.
it just people? Is it just because I mean, all I heard from Terrifier 2 last year was that people were vomiting in the aisles when they watched this movie, and I'm like, okay, but
Okay, that's a
that's
bit much.
oh no,
I
there
didn't go
were
vomiting no
there
aisles.
there
I know. I'm
were
just
yeah
saying, as
there
someone who's seen
were.
it, Art the Clown. I love him. He gets to go in the horror Hall of Fame for me
Oh, I'm
personally.
sure he's great. I just want to know if there's a story to this movie, or if everybody just cares about seeing people get like disemboweled and have their like intros played with. That's all I want to know, because I'm like, I don't want to watch a movie if that's all that it is. If it's just how many creative ways can this clown murder somebody? Like it's like, okay, I don't care about that. What's the story? Am I going to be rooting?
Side eye.
You know,
Side eye. But yes, that's it.
Yes.
I won't say anything because I'm going to get you to watch it. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I'm just saying this right now. If you get me to watch it and there's nothing but gore, I apologize in advance that I'm probably going to rag on it like I did Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where there's no plot, there's nothing but gore. Probably just going to rag on it and be like, what was this? Why y'all love this? Like, I mean, yeah, Art the Clown's great, but like, this is just a snuff tape. This is just a snuff tape at this point.
Y'all gonna hear about how much I love that movie. One and two.
Yep. But yeah, so yeah, like I said, y'all let us know what your hot takes are. We're interested in hearing them. So, but yes, of course, thank you guys so much for joining us and listening to us again this week. Definitely go check out the Patreon video of us watching Jason Takes Manhattan, with some great classic horror movie moments. Probably one of the best horror movies ever made.
Yes.
So scary and beautifully written. Jason is an icon for the ages.
I laughed. I cried. I
laughed so hard I cried.
I took a long time to get to Manhattan.
It took a long time to get to Manhattan. And then when we got to Manhattan, we immediately got mugged.
We did. We got mugged right off the bat.
right out the gate, right off the boat. But yeah, that's going to be it for us today. Thank you guys so much again for listening to today's episode.
If you like what you hear and are afraid to miss an episode, you can catch us every Wednesday at noon over on Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you choose to listen.
Catch up with us over on Instagram and TikTok at Dial H for Horror Podcast, and feel free to check out our Patreon for exclusive content under the same name. Once again, I've been Shay.
And I've been Gina.
Be safe out there, and we will see you all in the next episode. Stay spooky.